computer. Hey, Cyrus, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So, Cyrus, I'd like to just give people some information today. You're a mortgage specialist with Premier. Tell us, first of all, a little bit about what you do, and then let's talk about how COVID-19 has affected your world. So tell us about your mortgage company.
Yep. So we're obviously a mortgage broker with Premier Mortgage. So we deal a lot with first-time home buyers and investor clients and a lot of people who are actually self-employed. So that's a lot of our business and obviously based out of here in Halifax. So in terms of COVID affecting our business, I mean, I think it's affected everybody. So obviously, in terms of activity in the market for sure. So less homes being listed, but then also we have some of our clients who are obviously being laid off, losing their jobs. Maybe they're closing their businesses, whatever it might be. So those are kind of our big impacts that we're seeing on our end and in our market anyway. But that's kind of where we're really seeing the effects now. Long term, short term, we'll see kind of how it plays out. But for now, we're starting to see a lot of people hold off, or a lot of people that are currently in active offer situations that could be affected, right?
So, Cyrus, what would happen if I had a client, you got him financing, he's due to close, and he gets laid off?
Right. So good question. So a lot of our banks and lenders have been really good about that actually. So they've kind of come out and they've said, once that we have accepted the income, once we've actually confirmed the income, they're not looking to reopen the file to relook at the income because obviously they're aware of what is going on. So they're trying to do most of their due diligence up front. So any file that's set to close, it shouldn't really be an issue. The client's getting laid off.
Okay.
I can't speak for all banks and lenders, but generally the ones that we've been working with, they understand that it's liability to the seller, it's a liability to the buyer. So they're not trying to reopen a file to find out the client's still working 2 days, right?
Yeah. The big five banks, they all have deferral programs. It's all over television there. Tell us about some of the companies that you finance with other than the big five, and what are they doing to help people through this time, deferring payments or?
They've all been great. I mean, they've all pretty much followed suit with all the big, what all the big banks are doing anyway. So they're all doing the same deferral programs, treating them in the same ways. They've actually set up a lot of cool, faster ways for clients to do it through the online portals or through emails. Because I mean, there was I think over a few hundred thousand requests for people to do mortgage deferrals. So there was a lot of volume coming into all the big banks, all the smaller lenders, everybody, right? So they try to really streamline the process, as what the banks have done as well through online banking, where you can just kind of go in there and apply for deferrals, whether it's for your mortgage or your car payments or your credit cards or whatever. So they've all really done the same thing the banks have done. So deferrals up to 6 months, skip a payment. Some of them have done reamortization of the mortgages.
That was my next question for you is, have you done any where people have to pull equity out of their home to pay their bills right now?
That's a tough one. So when you're doing a refinance, you have to qualify based on income. So anybody who it's just like a purchase, right? So anybody who has lost their job typically can't look at refinancing their home because they don't qualify because currently they don't have employment, right? So we have been fielding a lot of panic calls. A lot of people who are looking to potentially pull money out of their homes. Now there is people who are currently still working, but they want to pull money out of their homes because they just don't know what the future holds, right?
Well, exactly. They like having that little nest egg.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit of a cushion that in case something does go, offside, then they can survive for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But for anybody who has currently lost a home, not lost a home, but lost a job, is having a hard time refinancing. There is some private lenders that can come in there in a second position, but it's not cheap, right? So they'll come in there, it's high rates, they can lend you a little bit of money, but it's really a last resort for people who are kind of clinging on, right? So
yeah. So the companies that you typically, if you're not, because I know you do TD and some of the other big five, when you say other companies, are these trust companies you're talking about?
Yeah, so they're all government backed. So they're reputable lenders, mortgage only lenders. They've been around for a long time. So they're not kind of like they're not a small local lender. I mean, they do billions and billions of dollars of mortgages, right? And they're all backed by CMHC and Genworth and all that. So they're just as secure as they come. So they're not going to go under due to this. It's just, they're really treating this just how the big banks would as well, right?
Okay, good. Now, if contacting these companies, are you able to help people with that? If they're to call you and say, Cyrus, you know, I'm with First National, whatever, do you know who I call? What do I do?
Definitely. Yeah. So,
for them?
yeah. So we have everything. We have the hotlines, we have the emails. We can kind of guide clients where to go. We can't do the deferrals for them, but we can kind of guide them in the right direction, because everything for the deferrals is done case by case. So
Okay.
the client really has to explain their situation, what they're going through, when they expect to potentially be back to work, or, you know, how many payments need deferred. So they have to speak to the bank or the lender themselves, but we can really help guide them and hold their hand to make sure that they can, that they get the process done as quickly as possible, right?
Okay. All right. And when it comes to, one last question here, there are people out there that it's a necessity. With people sometimes forget, like real estate, it's basic shelter. You know, it's
Right.
one of man's basic needs. You know,
That's
which why it is an essential service. So people now that are looking to buy, that they need to buy a home, is the financing still going through as quickly as it was before? Are they hesitant now giving out new mortgages with what could potentially be a job loss situation for a person?
Well, they're really assessing the risk up front now. So they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, how long has the person been in their job? How much savings do they have? Is it a company that just opened 3 months ago? Kind of what's going on there, right? In terms of approvals, definitely slowed down a little bit compared to what it used to be, just because of the volume that the lenders are having to deal with. I mean, when COVID really started, or when it started to get very serious, the banks had an over, I think it was 300% increase in applications. And most of those were refinances, right? Or most of those were actually a lot of people trying to take advantage of the lower rates, trying to do like a renewal or a switch or whatever it might be, right? So it's been a lot for the banks and lenders to handle. But yeah, exactly. It's definitely slowed down a little bit in the last few weeks, but they're starting to pick back up. We're trying to handle the volume, right? So
We have too, like typically, you know, we would have exploded in real estate
yeah,
in April
yeah,
and May, because those are our two, you know, big
exactly.
months. And of course, June is the largest closing month of the year,
Right.
typically, which is
Right.
not going to be this year. It's down about, I think showings are down about 60%, but like
Yeah.
your essential service, your finance, you know, we're essential service with finding people shelter if they need it, or selling their shelter. Are there any other tips, Cyrus, that you can pass on to us?
You know, it's really just the lenders are really looking for all documents up front on a lot of this stuff. They really want, I mean, we really have to tell a story when we're trying to get a client approved, and we're getting everything we can up front. So as long as the client is prepared, they have a pre-approval, you know, just like you guys are, we're taking all the active measures to make sure everybody's safe. A lot of online signings. We're starting to adopt DocuSign and e-signatures, just like you guys are, right? So it's really just making sure the client is in a situation where they've talked to a mortgage professional, they know they can afford the home, and they know that they're dealing with someone that can really help kind of vouch for their case, right? Because right now the banks are a little bit on their heels to say, hey, maybe some of the riskier stuff we were doing 2 months ago, we're not doing right now, right?
Mhm.
So it really comes into how long has the client been at their job, how much savings do they have, all those kind of the basic stuff, right?
Okay. And as we do now as realtors, they can do a virtual appointment with you.
That's how we've been doing it right now, right? So we haven't been in face-to-face meetings. Everything's been virtual over Zoom or over FaceTime or whatever it might be, and a lot of lawyers are doing that as well. So it has been kind of how we've had to,
Yeah.
I guess, shift the business. But
Oh, absolutely. Thank goodness for technology.
that's it. And you know, the last tip I would say for clients who are looking to defer their payments is really figure out if you really do need to defer your payment, I guess is the better question, because it's not get out of free jail card. It's not, you know, the bank is paying for 6 months of your payments. It's you are incurring
Tack
interest,
on.
right? So if
Tack
you
on,
don't
yeah.
need to do it, don't do it. But if you need to, take advantage of it, right? But it
Okay.
shouldn't be you know, do it just because you can. It's
Mm.
going to cost you money in the long run, right?
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. And is there a number where people can reach you, Cyrus?
Yeah, so I'm 902-880-7048. So you can always reach me on evenings, weekends, during the day. Text or call me is kind of the easiest.
Okay.
And then whatever questions you have, I'd love to help. Even if I'm not working with your bank, we can still kind of help you and
Yeah.
hold your hand through this, because it's not an easy time, right?
It's not. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Keeping people informed financially, of course, we all know is the biggest stressor that
That's
you
right.
can have on your
That's right.
head. So I thank you very much and take care.
Thank you,
Stay
Brenda.
Blazes home.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay safe.
Thanks, Brenda. You
All
too.
right, we'll talk to you later. Cheers.